Chair, Mr. President, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, I've been asked to present a few clear messages that are frank, possibly controversial, and triggering a lively and focused conversation while drawing on key findings of the DCF high-level symposium that was held in Montreux, Switzerland. I will do my best. A key feature of the post-15 agenda will be the inclusion of the universality principle towards a sustainable development that will ensure poverty eradication while guaranteeing a dignifying future for the generations to come. This is the starting point. But universality requires a real new attitude towards development. The post-15 process should not become merely a struggle around structures and administrative procedures. But yes, it entails also a bold move in shaping innovative ways and instruments aiming at achieving our goal in less than 2 decades. And we know that in general, people and systems don't like to change unless they are forced to. So I would like to underline, this is not coming from the symposium, but I would like to underline that urgency is really a real factor here. As somebody mentioned, Jeffrey Sachs mentioned, this is not a joke, what is happening today on the planet. But on the other side, I would also like to remember what Mr. Chambers just said a few minutes ago in indicating these are, if I quote him, these are bloody exciting times. So there are these 2 elements that are a driving factor for us. Now, how can development cooperation contribute, building on several decades of passionate support? While in fact, while ODA remains an important source of funding, and especially for the most vulnerable and fragile contexts, it is increasingly overshadowed in quantitative terms by private financial flows. In fact, the reality is that today ODA is a fraction of domestic and external economies. And to make the best use of it, we should go back to the roots of ODA, by acknowledging that ODA essentially is or should be a value-based funding. This implies inter alia that in the future, partners will have to seriously tackle the issue of policy coherence, both at global and at national levels. To put it provocatively, the partnerships of the last 30 years were often unbalanced, to be mild. And we know that time has come to start addressing this issue. A universal agenda is the implicit recognition that we have to work based on what unites us, with both public and non-public actors taking their share of responsibilities to assure we are moving in the right direction. This recognition is crucial, even more with new actors emerging. It is therefore important to move toward a global partnership which is open, transparent, and truly inclusive, enabling the diverse group of stakeholders to engage on a more equal footing. Broad multi-stakeholder engagement will be needed in a renewed and dynamic global partnership for development rooted in shared values and core principles based on co-creation and genuine exchange. The multi-stakeholder engagement should include a broad range of actors, the private and public sectors, the scientific community, southern think tanks, and civil society, as well as philanthropic foundations, just to name a few. Multi-stakeholder partnerships are unlikely to replace the intergovernmental partnerships, but they are likely to become an even more important complement to them. The ability to engage the breadth of development actors in a range of customized partnerships will be a key determining factor for the successful implementation of the post-2015 development agenda. And it is here where the development cooperation will have an important role in advancing the implementation of the agenda as an integrating force by bringing the different actors and approaches together through these multi-stakeholders partnerships and the Global Partnership for Development. We often say that in these discussions that ODA has a catalytic function. This catalytic function has, among others, an important normative component in order to mobilize additional resources. And this must not be underestimated. This means that when we engage in multi-stakeholders partnership with ODA, we must bring regulatory and accountability issues on the table. Monitoring and accountability are powerful tools to advance implementation of the post-15 development agenda. And the lack of an effective framework and accompanying fragmentation of different initiatives is often seen as one of the main explanatory factors for gaps in MDGs implementation. Therefore, effective monitoring and accountability frameworks are needed across the entire post-15 development agenda. The DCF could, in particular, add value on the monitoring of development cooperation and the Global Partnership for Development, and bring this added value to newly agreed institutional setting for sustainable development. And these are the messages coming out from Montreux, and I'd like to thank you.
Thank you very much. I think certainly you've helped us to set the scene. Hopefully this is being provoking enough to get an equally provocative response from everyone. He's certainly gone beyond the norm. He's talked about embracing change and innovation, but we can see that we've also begun to change the language, which should be interesting for our discussions going forward. But really just underscoring the importance of the two new areas that I think are really we've seen in the discussions of the Open Working Group and of the Finance Experts Group, and certainly the outreach, and that's the importance of multi-stakeholder partnerships and how many of them are not need to be customized. We need to respond to the different situations we have in a universal agenda, and the role of DCF in trying to facilitate that new mix of stakeholders and initiatives. Underscoring what we've heard in the last week through the successful conclusions of the high-level political forum, the importance of accountability, and it comes up again and again and again, more especially the monitoring roles and responsibilities, and though I didn't hear, and I will add to this, the importance of the data revolution, which will underpin all of this at the end of it. So it is my pleasure now to turn to our four panelists. I would like to speak in the, as they say, in the spirit of football. We witnessed it yesterday. We have 5 minutes for each panelist. 1 minute to go, there'll be a yellow card, and then there'll be a red one. So I hope you will take that in good faith, because I really think we've got such a big audience today that we need to hear from the multi-stakeholder audience that we have, so that we can respond and move away from this with really great inputs into what is happening in parallel rooms on the process at the moment. So first question to Mr. going again back to Mr. Wennubst, a response to what should be the defining features of development cooperation in a post-2015 development setting, and I really pick up the key elements that you think would make this work. I know we could speak about this for the whole day, but what would your key elements for that be? You have 5 minutes. Let's see. Yeah.
Actually, would like to be very brief, to leave space for others to speak, because actually my intention is to bring most of the element I was bringing there, and I could simply share some of the ongoing experiences that we are developing, that we are seeing that are developed in terms of also new partnerships. An important, very key element is that there is a need to think globally when we engage in these partnerships, but act locally, which means it's a little bit, I would say, I would not say it's controversial, but it's not that easy. So each time when we engage in specific focused partnership, which is what is actually these days, the lessons learned that we had in these days is proving, bringing quite successful experiences, possibility of experiences by engaging in very focused manner on certain themes with different actors. While engaging specifically on a specific condition is important to keep in mind the implication that this partnership might have at a global level. So when we are talking about collecting and getting data and being assuring that we have all the elements to capture what these partnerships are bringing, is not just merely for a monitoring or for but and also for accountability reason, but is also as a learning experience. Because we have, while moving on, we'll have to continuously coming back and forth between what we are doing concretely in countries, in region, but also what are the effects and the implication of this at global level. So this discussion, this moving from global to local is a feature that will be important for us in the future. We've been trying to do it, but I'm not necessarily sure that we did it in a very systematic manner. And I think that the fora, the international fora we are having here, will help us a lot in the years to come. But definitely important is that these partnerships are focused on very concrete aspects that we want to challenges and aspects we want to solve. I would like just to bring this as our only element and leave the space for others to join. Thanks.
Thank you very much.